All right, welcome to the Traditional Bow Hunting Wilderness Podcast. This is Jason Samkoviak. We're going to take a minute here and I'm going to show you how to dress up an Izula and make it a little bit better. As you know, the Izula knife is my favorite knife I've ever had. I've done many podcasts and I've done videos on it as well too, and I just did one couple weeks ago showing you that this was my favorite knife ever. But what I've done is I'm making it a little better. In here, soaking right now, I just put it in there. I just used a little bit of this, stripper, this clean strip, gets rid of the coating. But I just coated this a minute ago on that Izula right here. This is my first ever Izula that I ever bought. I carried it in my pack for about 9 years. I've had probably 10 Izulas. I still got 6 or 7 Izulas still. I love this knife, obviously. But this is my first one ever. And since I put a White River knife in my backpack now that I'm using as my, my actual in my pack hunting knife, even though the Izula in my pocket does most of the work. I switched this knife out anyway. It was in my pack forever. This one got stuck back in a drawer, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do something with it and dress it up. So what I'm doing is I'm stripping the coating off of it right now, which I'll walk you through the process. I just put that coating on there. I'm going to leave it sit till this stuff starts to bubble up. Then I'm going to wipe it off. I'm going to then sand this knife and give it a nice mirrored finish and finish it up really well. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put custom scales of my own kind of design on here. See, now these are the scales right here that you buy. Okay, you can get these scales. They come as a pair. They're like $15, but they go on each side of that knife, and it's a good scale. But it's really pretty thick, a little thicker than I want it to be for my design. I like a little thinner than what this is, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand this down so that it's about a little more than half the thickness. I'm going to take 25-30% of that thickness down, and then I'm going to do some custom file work on there so it's got a little bit more grip on it. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of re-ream these holes a titch so they countersink for the screws, and then I'm going to dye them in RIT dye to get them black to match that so it looks good. Basically, I do that with some of the scales anyway. Like here's an example of the same kind of concept. It's a thinner scale than what it's the same. This is the same exact scales that we have right here. The only difference is I sanded down the thickness, as you can see on there, that they are not as thick as what those are. You can see, let me see if I can set you, you can see here, not quite as thick as what this original scale was. And then I did that custom file work in there to give it a little more grip on your hand and give it a little more bite. So it gives it a nice thin profile as opposed to a thicker, fatter profile with these other scales on there. So it thins that profile, those scales up on there real nice. And it gives you something to bite onto real good. I like the way it feels and looks. So that's the game plan for this knife that's in here. Okay, to thin these scales down thinner that I want, you can do it by hand. You can basically lay a piece of sandpaper on your bench, take this, and just start rubbing it back and forth till you get it the way you want it. I have this belt sander, which I use for a lot of my sharpening, for broadheads, for everything. This is one of the most valuable tools that I have in my garage. $40 from Harbor Freight. I absolutely love it. Well, right now, what we're going to use it for is I'm going to use it to wear these down and thin these down. So basically, just taking them down, I'm just going to work back and forth on there until I get them down to the thickness I want. And as you can see, it's just sanding it down, sanding it down, sanding it down. So I'll bring you back once I got that. I'm going to take them down and show you when I got them down to where I want them. Okay, both those scales are sanded down now. Where are you at? Right there. So I just basically took them. You can see and then I basically just hold them like this to make sure they're both the same size. But it took literally about a minute and a half to run those through that belt and just kind of, change the thickness of those so that I got them exactly where I want them. Okay, you can see here that knife is still stripping away. So, I mean, we haven't got that far into it yet. Like I said, I told you it takes about 15-20 minutes. In that time, I have sanded down my scales to be a smaller size. And I already got one scale reworked right there. As you can see the detail in there with the file. Real quick and easy, but it's going to give real good grip on there once this is done. All I'm doing to do this is I take this thing here. I set it right here. You can clamp it down if you want to. Use any size file you want to. I'm using basically, these kind of diameter, just little rat tail files or round files. And basically what you do is you just set it on there and you just start filing away. Takes you a couple of seconds. It's usually, I'd say probably You're probably looking at maybe 20 licks per full line across there, 20, 25 licks. It doesn't take long to get through these and put those marks in them. Real quick and easy. Like I said, I'm not even 15 minutes into this project. The knife is stripping right now. I already got the scales sanded down to the thickness I want, and I already got one scale completely done. Take me about maybe 5-8 minutes to do this scale and have this one done like I want, and then we'll be ready on for the next step. Okay, you can see the difference here between that hole, which has not been reamed out yet, and that one it has. Now when I set that bolt in there, you can see that bolt fits in there perfectly flush, just like it's supposed to, and it's hidden so that you don't feel that. There's no raised part in that bolt on there. So that's kind of what we're looking for. And again, the Izula is designed perfect for that. All you do, take it, basically stick it right where you add on here. Sorry, I get weird with this camera setup, but I'm basically just going to stick that right into that hole right there, and just start twirling it around like this. Because of the shape of that blade, it basically is a perfect counterbore type setup. So I'm just screwing it around a few times like this. Probably, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 times around. Just enough to kind of set that counterbore in there. Like that. And there you have it. Sits in there. I need a titch more on there, but you can see that it's almost there. So just take it, give it a little bit more, just keep running that right around. And that does it right there. Take your screw, set your screw in there, and perfect. See, that sits nice and flush in there, no raised up part, no nothing. There it is right there. Sweet, and I'll keep it from falling out, but it starts to fall. But there you can see it right there just like that. Okay, as you can see here, both of our scales are all done and ready to be dipped in or dyed with RIT dye. And we still have not finished our knife yet. As you can see, it is still in here soaking. So time-wise, we are just about at the point where we want to start stripping that off and taking all that that gel remover off there pretty soon. It's getting to a point where some of that stuff is kind of getting to a point where you can start to peel it a little bit. So like I said, you can see this whole process doesn't take long at all. It's only a few minutes to do. Like I said, I'm probably 15, 18 minutes total time into doing the scales and having them like I want to, and that knife is about ready. We're going to go ahead and strip that off here in a minute. All right. We're going to try scraping this. I just tried a second ago on a little spot and it came off all right. So well, you want to wear gloves when you're doing this because this stuff is pretty nasty. But basically, you can use anything you want to, but you're just scraping, basically just scraping that green crap off of there. You can use a plastic knife, putty knife, doesn't matter what. Razor blade works good, which I'm probably going to go to in a minute here. But you basically just trying to scrape off all that green, all that coating that's on there. And this scraper really is not the best thing for it. So I'm going to reach over here and grab an old razor blade and use that. But see, you can basically just scrape. All that green crap comes off there. So you get down to the bare metal. And you're just going to go over the whole thing. You got to get inside of here. All this stuff, basically just scrape all that green stuff all has to come off there so that you got it cleaned off ready, and then you're ready to sand it and polish it and that kind of stuff. So I'll come back to it after I get all this crap off there and show you the rest. Okay, there you have it. That is stripped off. Everything is gone off of there. There's a couple little pieces left, but I'm not worried because I'm going to sand it anyway, so I'll end up sanding the rest of those off. But that is completely stripped now and ready for the final sanding part. Now for the sanding, I'm going to use a belt sander for the flat stuff on a lot of the flat stuff on there. But for inside the holes here, inside of this area, really the only way to do it is by hand. You can use, I got 800 grit sandpaper here, I got 1000 grit, it doesn't matter, but basically you're just working it inside of there and cleaning all that stuff up and making it nice and smooth and polished like you're looking for. So it does take a little bit of time, but it's not anything that's horrible. Once you get started on it, it goes pretty quick. You can see I'm already starting to wear right through that and get it cleaned up up nice. So, but that's really all it takes to do for these interior parts. It takes, 10-15 minutes to kind of go around in here, but there's really no other way to do it unless you wanted to do, I could use a Dremel, but it's so fast to do it by hand, I don't mind taking the time to do it. So I'll bring it back as soon as I got that sanded off. Just using, let me turn that off. Using 1000 grit. It's actually an older belt too. It's probably 1400 grit, but 1000 grit sander. Same as using this sandpaper right here, 1000 grit sandpaper. If you want to do it all by hand, it doesn't take long at all to go ahead and clean that stuff off. Like I said, I used to do them all by hand for the most part, but so it doesn't take long to do. But this just makes it a little bit quicker. Okay, there it is. It's all sanded off and everything's all cleaned. It's like I said, just did it on a 1000 grit sandpaper belt sander. It took about 5 minutes probably, kind of go through and get her real good. And now I'm ready to take it over to the polishing wheel and clean her up real nice. Okay, now to polish this knife, all I'm doing is just using my standard buffer wheel right here. Grinder, everybody should have one of these. If you don't have one of these, run out and buy one. They're like 35 bucks. They're the most valuable tool I have in this entire garage. But I'm just going to go ahead now and clean this up on this buffer here. Little rubber or compound on there. I don't even know what kind it is. But something sweet, simple. Let's see here. And I'm just going to buff this. And I'm not going to let it get too hot. So when it starts to get hot like that, I'm going to stop, give it a second to cool down, and I'm going to continue. Okay, there's our finished knife. There's our scales. I just rinsed them all off and cleaned them up. Now we're getting ready to dye this. All I'm doing is getting that to, it's a little bit of water, for just enough to cover the scales. See how it's just now starting to boil? I'm going to turn that burner off, and then I'm going to take this RIT dye, and I'm going to pour this RIT dye into there. Just like this. I'm going to take this and pour in probably, I don't know, I'm kind of just whatever feels right, quarter glass, half glass. I'm going to wait a second and let that kind of stop boiling a second. You don't want it to be a full boil, you want it just short of a boil. So set that on there, let it not quite be boiling. I'm going to pour this in about, I'm going to go with about that much. Yeah, there is no right or wrong to this. Just pour in what you think. And then I'm going to take these scales, and I'm going to just drop them right in there, and I'm going to leave them sitting there for 10 minutes. When they're done, I'm going to pull them out. I'm going to wash them with cold water, put them on a knife. It's all done. And there you have it. There's the finished product, and it makes an excellent gift for somebody. You want to do something for somebody that they could never buy. You want to make them something like that, something completely custom and creative. That's a great way to do it. The Esee Izula, it's an amazing knife as it is. Take it to a level like this or something like that. All the options and details and the things you can do with it, endless possibilities. This is another one. Taking it to a mirror finish like that definitely takes about an hour and a half of work. It's definitely a little more involved. But doing the scales and customizing those scales like that, you're literally only talking 15 minutes. You don't even have to thin them down like I made mine thinner. I like the thinner profile, and but you can just do them like natural with the file work. Endless possibilities. You can dress these up any way you want to. This one, since it was my very first Izula I ever bought, I'm going to take this one. I'm going to let it patina naturally. If you want to leave it in a mirror finish, all you really got to do to it is coat it with a little WD-40 once in a while, or some True Glide or something like that, some kind of rust preventative. But I'm going to let it naturally patina, kind of how this one is starting to. I'm going to let it do it naturally on its own and just leave it that way and not, never mess with it. Just let it do its own thing its own way. But there you go, ways to customize and dress up your Esee Izula. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with more stuff soon. Bye.